Cudahy and share a little bit about his story, and then he's going to go ahead and make an announcement.
Yeah, go Jack! Go Jack! Woo!
Thank you very much, David. It's a real honor for me to be here this evening. I'm delighted to be surrounded by fellow patriots. And I do have an announcement to make, but first I want to just remind you of just how egregious and irresponsible the conduct of California politicians has been. We see it on the front end because it's very visible. The rampant homelessness, the rising inflation, the exorbitant taxes, the crime that is now afflicting every major city in California. That's what's very visible, what's in the news, what's very prominent. But I'm here to tell you that behind the scene, there's a lot of corruption and mismanagement that happens as well as politicians, legislators in Sacramento, and the governor's administration collude on a daily basis to bilk the taxpayer at every opportunity and spend resources on pet projects in the most undisciplined and irresponsible ways. And so the time has come for an independent watchdog who is free from the single-party apparatus in Sacramento to bring checks and balances to the government and to serve honorably and tell the truth to taxpayers about our dire financial condition and the way that our funds are administered at the state level. And so I'm here to introduce myself. My name is Jack Guerrero. I'm a city council member, a past mayor, and before this convening of fellow patriots, I'd like to formally announce my candidacy for California State Treasurer.
Yeah! Woo! 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 Go Jack!
Thank you.
Go Jack!
The timing could not be more urgent, and the stakes could not be greater. So what does the state treasurer do? The treasurer is responsible for managing the state's investments. The treasurer is responsible for coordinating the issuance of government bonds on behalf of the state, and the treasurer is responsible for representing taxpayer interests on various finance-themed commissions and boards, including the public sector pension funds, like CalPERS and CalSTRS. And I have some very important news to share with you about the dire predicament of those funds. The Stanford University Economics Research Institute, and I'm partial to that institute because I went to Stanford, pegs the amount of the unfunded liability for the combined pensions of CalPERS, CalSTRS, and University of California at a staggering $1 trillion. For reference, the size of the annual budget in California is about $150 billion, which means we could not tax you 10 times over and recover from that gap. $1 trillion represents the difference between the present value of the future stream of obligations, promises that we have made to pensioners, and the present value of the assets in the fund. That $1 trillion continues to grow each day as the schemes are perpetuated on a daily basis. We need to bring some discipline and truth to the way that we share that predicament with taxpayers, and serving on those boards and challenging those boards to use appropriate discount rates so that we can share the true valuation of that unfunded liability is of paramount importance. The treasurer also is responsible for coordinating all of the issuance of government bonds. And let me tell you, we have reached a new frontier with respect to the volume of these bonds, lockstep to meet the largesse and the irresponsible spending of the California legislature. And the consequence of that is that Wall Street bankers are now profiting off of this bond issuance to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Debt is not free. We have to pay a price for that in terms of interest and transaction costs. And they are out of control to the benefit of Wall Street and to the detriment of taxpayers in the state of California. That must come to an end. The other irresponsible conduct of the state treasurer's office in recent years has been dabbling in areas that are completely outside the scope of the treasurer's office, like establishing a new state bank or forcing workers to contribute in the private sector to 401k styled investment accounts managed by the state, not by the private sector, in the most irresponsible and inefficient way compared to their private sector counterparts. It makes no sense to force this on workers when they already have options available to them in the form of IRAs or other investment vehicles in the private sector. So we need to bring a little bit of sense to what the treasurer does. It is dabbling in areas outside of its scope, and it's questionably constitutional. We need to bring that kind of discipline back to the area and the purview of their work. And so the time has come for somebody who understands finance, somebody who can be a watchdog and a check and balance on the legislature. And I want to humbly submit for your consideration my background. I bring a unique combination of both public and private sector experience as a mayor, a city council member since 2013, and I have served my constituents honorably in the city of Cudahy, challenging corruption at every step, lowering taxes and fees at every opportunity, defending private property rights, and standing up for balanced budgets whenever the budgets are up for consideration. Bar none, without exception. I've done that since 2013. When I was first elected and became mayor, I called upon the California State Controller to come to my city and initiate a consequential forensic examination, which revealed serious violations of the internal control protocols in my city, and they were consistent with the findings that I initiated on my own when I first became mayor. So I was vindicated in that respect. I also did the unthinkable as mayor. I held public hearings in my city on the quality of public education in my local schools. And that meddling in school affairs led to the wholesale reform of one school's entire administration. That school, from the schools, you are not a school board member. But my conscience did not settle with that, and I held public hearings and put the feet to the fire, went to the school board, and the administration at that local school was reformed. And I'm very proud of that. So a little bit more about my background. On the private sector side, I'm a certified public accountant. I'm an economist. I've worked as an investment banker on Wall Street, so I know how that works. More recently, I've served as an economist for a large commercial bank in the corporate treasury department. In prior professional cycles, I've also audited government agencies, municipalities, including the Department of Energy, and I've served under the George W. Bush administration in the U.S. Department of the Treasury right out of school. I went to Harvard Business School. I'm a graduate in economics from Stanford University, and I grew up in southeast Los Angeles County in the city of Cudahy. That's where my parents settled. Thank you. That's where my parents settled. Hardworking, honest Mexican immigrant parents, Catholic, and committed to raising their children right. I was born into a really tough neighborhood, I have to say. Everybody's familiar with Cudahy in southeast Los Angeles County. A lot of poverty, gangs, and very significantly decrepit public schools. At the time that I was a student, I remember that my high school was ranked in the bottom 10% of public schools in California. That's a disgrace. It's a civil rights violation, in my opinion, and it's another reason why I am passionate about education reform in the state of California and why we need to get that initiative on the ballot as soon as possible, the School Choice Initiative. It is a lifeline for disadvantaged children from communities like mine. That is absolutely important. When I was a young boy in Cudahy, I was about the age of 8, I decided to become a Republican because I knew that I wanted a better life for myself and for my family, and that Republican values offered hope and upward mobility. And it is through hard work, a raw ambition for self-improvement, and yes, the grace of God, and I'm not ashamed to admit that, the grace of God, that I was able to escape a decrepit public education in one of the worst, poorly mismanaged school districts in California, one of the most underperforming schools, and migrate to the Ivy League as an intellectual refugee. And I was able to graduate subsequently from Stanford and Harvard. And I'm very, very proud of that background. But I want that opportunity, I want that shot at the American dream, which was afforded to me, to be extended to young people everywhere. And in this respect, I coincide with all of you, fellow patriots, on preserving the American dream, which has unfortunately been undermined by reckless politicians in Sacramento through their negligence, their corruption, their undermining of civil liberties, and their mismanagement of financial affairs at every opportunity. This needs to stop. I need a chance to get to work, and I appreciate your consideration this evening. My name is Jack Guerrero, candidate for California Treasurer. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.